Oh, 6 o'clock. Okay, anybody that comes later misses the intro, so that's okay. Thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Doug Rowan, and I'm the town chairperson for the town of Troy. Also here tonight, we've got Ray Knapp, who's one of our board supervisors. He's responsible for the fire and EMS services from a town board standpoint, and Chief Drew Spielman from the Hudson Fire Department. So we're going to talk a little bit tonight about fire service optimization within the town of Troy. There have been efforts going on in this space since 2019. So it's not a brand new topic, although there's some significant changes that we're talking about. And let's see, I'm missing. Can we get the video so the screen stays on the presentation? Okay. We'll take a quick pause for audio video adjustment. While he's doing that, I'll flip to the agenda. So I'm going to make a quick presentation. I prefer not to have questions during the presentation, but we can go back to any of the slides or information later when we get to the question and answer session. So hopefully we can get through all the information and then we can come back and have discussion, questions, and conversation about it. So first, we're going to give kind of a quick overview of the fire service optimization plans, which are scheduled for implementation in 2027. The reason for 2027 is that's when one of our contracts expires and restarts for another 20 years. So this is a contract renewal window, which is why we're looking at making the changes in the next couple years. Then we'll talk a little bit about the paid-on-call firefighter hiring process as we implement this plan. We need more firefighters, and ideally firefighters in the town of Troy that live and or work in the town. And so we'll talk about that process a little bit, and then we'll have questions and answers. So Ray and I can hopefully answer most of the questions, or at least let you know where we are in the answering process for the first topic. And if you got detailed questions on the hiring process and the firefighter part, that's why we've got Chief Spielman here tonight with us to talk about that piece. So for those of you who may or may not know, the town of Troy currently is served by two fire departments, split into two response areas. So the Hudson Fire Department, we participate with through a joint advisory board that consists of those municipalities that are listed. So the city is one partner, Village of North Hudson, Town of Hudson, and the Town of Troy for the northern part of the town. And then we're also served by the River Falls Fire Department through an association called the River Falls Rural Fire Association, and that includes the town of Clifton, town of Kinnickinnick, town of Pleasant Valley, town of River Falls, and the southern part of Troy. So currently we have two fire departments that serve the town, and we're planning to continue that moving forward, but how they interact with each other is going to change a bit as we move forward. So currently these are the existing service boundaries for the two fire departments. So the part you see on the map in white is the part that's served by the Hudson Fire Department, and the part that you see in blue is served by the River Falls Fire Department. So that's kind of where we are now and where we'll be until the end of 2026. So some of the changes that we're planning to make as we move through this transition. First off, we're going to expand the service area in Troy that's covered by the Hudson Fire Department. And it'll be a significant expansion, and that will then cover 88% of the Troy addresses and about 81% of the property value in Troy. And I'll show you a map of that in a second. That will include all of the territory in Troy that's currently closer to the Hudson Fire Department than it is to the River Falls Fire Department. When Hudson moved their fire station in 2020, there's a large portion of Troy that was actually physically closer to the Hudson Fire Department than it was to River Falls. But we haven't been able to take advantage of that shorter driving distance because of where that service boundary was. So that's an advantage we're going to take advantage of in this contract change. And then we're going to add some additional service area where we can further reduce the drive distances from basically the properties to the fire stations. So that's the main driver of looking at all these changes and then seeing how we can optimize within that. So to cover all that additional area, the Hudson Fire Department needs additional firefighters, and that's one of the activities that you see we started. We need to hire some more firefighters to cover the additional territory. Effectively, what we're doing is adding almost the equivalent of an additional municipality to their service region, and so they need some more capacity to be able to cover that effectively and take care of all our properties and our residents. So we're looking at somewhere between 8 and 10 volunteer firefighters paid on call. We'll talk about that to cover that expanded territory. In addition, we're looking at adding an additional response location within Troy and designing that to be within 5 driving miles of most of the town. And again, I'll show you some maps on that. And then adding appropriate apparatus and equipment to that new location. So that's the high level plan of what we're looking at doing over the next couple years. And then updating our service contracts to be compatible with that new capability. So as that's implemented, this is what the new service boundaries would look like. So the yellow part would then be served by the Hudson Fire Department within the town of Troy, and the blue part would remain being served by the River Falls Fire Department. So it's a pretty significant shift in where that boundary is to try to improve those response distances and response times. Things that we looked at on optimizing the location of the new substation, we're calling it, would be to minimize the drive distances between all of the stations and in some cases water supplies to the properties. The main drivers, as I've learned, is you got to get the people and the equipment there fast, and you have to have water available to put out the fire. So those are the key drivers that we've been looking at. The 3 stations would then be the Hudson Fire Station, the new Troy substation, which would be managed by the Hudson Fire Department as part of that district, and then the River Falls Fire Station would still be serving part of the town. That will shorten driving distances and response times, and we've tried to do it in a way that takes advantage of water hydrants in the few places where they exist in the town, as well as high capacity wells, and then we're looking at how we optimize both fixed and mobile water storage to get better capabilities on delivering water to an event site as well. And an outgrowth of all that is we should be able to improve our PPC scores, also sometimes referred to as ISO scores. Those are the scores that individual properties get for driving insurance risk and insurance rates on individual properties. That's where we've tried to maximize the properties that are less than 5 driving miles from a station as we're looking at this, because that's the primary driver of that score. I'll give you a little more information on that. I'm not a total expert, but we've got some feedback from the company that does that. So the goal might be then to improve our current property scores. Many of our properties in Troy today are scored a 10 on a 1 to 10 scale. 10 is the worst. And that's primarily because they're more than 5 miles from a station. So by getting this new capability in place, we can get much more of the town covered within that 5 miles, and hopefully we can get to something that's more like a 5X or maybe even better score. The issue becomes ISO and Verisk, the companies that do this rating, generally assign a class 10, which isn't even on their kind of classification scale. It's almost the same as not having a fire service at all, to any properties that are more than 5 driving miles from a fire station, which is a large chunk of the town of Troy today. This isn't going to get easier over time probably, but this is a current reality within both the insurance industry and the risk management space. So for example, that hashtagged area is the area that the Hudson Fire Department currently serves within the town of Troy. The color codes there show you the driving distance from the current Hudson Fire Station to those properties. So anything that's in green, which is a pretty good chunk of the part that's in the hashtag area, is 0 to 5 miles from the current Hudson Fire Station. Does that make sense to people? And then anything that's yellow currently is 5 to 10 miles from that station, and anything that's red is 10 to 15 miles from that fire station. Okay, so that's kind of how you read this map. Obviously, there's a similar map where there's a portion of the lower right portion of that map that's within 5 miles of the River Falls Fire Station, which is why maintaining the multiple fire stations really helps us to balance out that driving distance for all the capabilities that are there. Our current plan, the site we're looking at for the new station would be the same location as our current disposal center on Towns Valley Road and Chinook. So at that intersection, it's fairly centrally located within the town. We looked at some other locations. If we move it too far west, then much of our response district or capability moves into the river, which wasn't very helpful. And so if we put that station in, then the green area of what's within 5 driving miles of that new location is all the green that you see on that map. So it really dramatically improves the percentage of properties, households, and businesses that are within that 5-mile range of that location. In addition, we still have the 5-mile benefit from the Hudson Fire Department and the 5-mile benefit from the River Falls Fire Department in the other corner. So it doesn't cover all of the town within 5 miles, but it gets a very large percentage of the town within that 5-mile driving distance to a fire station. So that's kind of the high-level plan. We've got preliminary estimates for what things might cost and how we might implement that. We're trying to look at the operational cost differences between our current models and the future contracts and how this would play out from a cost standpoint. It will take an investment on the town's part, but also there are some operational cost benefits as we move forward as well. And we don't have all those final numbers yet. This plan is not finally approved by the town board yet, but we are moving forward in anticipation of implementing it because it appears to be the best solution we have from an overall optimization standpoint. And it also has not yet been approved by the Hudson Common Council. So, but we are in collaboration with the city and looking at how we can implement this. And we've talked to our other partners, and they're also aware of the plan at the high level of what we're trying to accomplish. So that's the first step. Second step is we're looking for firefighters. No matter what, to cover that additional area, we need some additional firefighters. And the Hudson Fire Department is currently in the process of hiring generally, but we're also looking then to see, can we get those 8 to 10 additional firefighters in the town of Troy to help support this plan. The reason we're starting now is there's at least a year-long training effort to get people trained and ready to go. So if we want to be operational by 2027, we have to be moving on the hiring process to get people trained and up to speed and ready for the fire department. So we need those firefighters to staff the Troy substation. Hudson's also recruiting to replace some existing staff. If you're interested and you're here tonight, that's the reason we have Chief Spielman here to answer questions about that. If you're not interested, but you know somebody who might be, please encourage them to look into it because we really need to get that staffing level up. If we get the station and we get the equipment, if we don't have the people, it doesn't mean anything. So the people are the magic that make this whole thing work. Applications are now being accepted on the City of Hudson website through July 18th. And if you're interested, we can give you more detail on that. The firefighters basically respond when St. Croix County Dispatch gets notice of a issue, and then they go to the station to get their gear and apparatus. As soon as they get enough people, then they take the gear out to respond to whatever the incident is. The current pay ranges depending on experience, training level, and other capabilities. From $27.80 to $30.17. And the Hudson Fire Department, as I talked about earlier, serves all 4 of those municipalities. So this station will also not just serve Troy, but it will serve the entire Hudson Fire Department region as part of that overall response capability. A hiring process, I said applications are being accepted. People will then go through an interview and selection process. And then training begins in September. There's a significant amount of training that's involved, which also has compensation attached to it. And the training itself is paid for by the state. So we get some extra benefits there. And there's resources both on the Hudson website, on the Town of Troy website, and more information about how the fire department works and what they do on the Hudson Fire Department website. So there's a bunch of resources out there. So really what we're trying to do here is enhance the protection of all the people and properties in the town of Troy, shorten the response distance, add additional firefighters and equipment, not just for Troy, but for the whole Hudson Fire Department service area. Get more staffing and equipment that we can optimize over time. So this is a long-term commitment, and it may not be optimized on day one, but as we learn and evolve, then we can optimize the staffing and even get more equipment or different equipment if we need to optimize that. And hopefully we can improve those PPC scores for many of the residents in Troy, which should have a direct impact on insurance rates. We have had anecdotal information about people having difficulty finding insurers. I know that my insurance company says if you're more than 10 miles from a fire station, we won't even quote you. But others are having difficulties even outside of that 5-mile range in finding multiple options, and they get boxed into something that's super expensive from an insurance standpoint. If you're interested in being a firefighter, it's a way to serve your community, serve your neighbors, and be part of a really great team of people that helps to protect our community and helps us stay who we are and keeps us safe and protects our property and capabilities. So that's the path that we're on. That's the high-level plan, and the short-term action that we're really looking for is we do want feedback on this plan because we are implementing and we're gaining more information as we go forward. But also, if you know somebody who's interested in becoming a firefighter or you're interested in yourself, we really would like to see people apply quickly so that we can get that group into training because we need that for this expanded area that we're talking about. Now, if you have a question, please come to the microphone so we can get it recorded so that we can also have it connected with the answers. This meeting is being recorded. It will be available online. So if you have friends or neighbors that aren't here, they'll be able to look at it in the next couple of days as well.
So I was just curious on
State your name and address too, just so we know who you are.
Jason Cook, 272 Walnut Hill Way. My question is the disposal site big enough to house all this and then also how many rigs are you looking to have at that site and location?
So I'll take the first one. I'll give the second one to Chief Spielman. So the question was, is the site big enough? We are currently doing a site analysis to answer that very question. It's definitely big enough for the fire service. The biggest question that we're trying to look at is, can we keep the disposal center there as well? Or do we have to move the disposal center maybe onto this site with the town hall? We have plenty of space here. This was not the ideal response location for the fire department piece. So we do have enough, raw space for what we need to build. We're trying to see if we can keep both services there or what the best design options would be from a layout standpoint.
Just out of curiosity, if you guys looked across the street where the for sale land is at to put it there?
This general area is not the best to optimize that 5-mile response.
Okay.
So basically, if we move it onto even the site where the current town hall is, we overlap more with the 5 miles that River Falls can respond to, and we don't cover as many people on the western border of the town that currently are farther than 5 miles. So
that makes sense.
It's less of an optimal place, plus that land is expensive.
Is that mine back there?
It should be.
It looks like it's green, so I think it is.
Okay. Other questions?
Just to answer your question
yeah.
on apparatus, so we'd have a pumper down there and then a 3,000 gallon water tender to start, and then we would be looking at probably adding a brush truck at some point.
Other questions?
What's
We
that?
can talk about
No.
space a little bit. Doug had mentioned potentially relocating the disposal center here. I don't know how many of you remember that the town recently bought the land directly behind the town hall here. So I was about 4 acres.
Yeah, so we've got a little over 4 acres, plus there's a little more than an acre on the original property with the town hall. So we've got some land to do some things with for additional town services if we need to on this site.
Warren Volmar, 408 Eagle Bluff Drive. Our property just happens to be split between what used to be the River Falls and Hudson. Question of curiosity, how many fire calls do we typically have in a year? And how many would we potentially have with the expanded service to North Hudson and et cetera?
So in our current fire response rate within the town of Troy, averages about 18 to 20. Last year was an anomaly. I think there was 32 calls in our portion of Troy. Overall, the call volume in the entire town is about 60. So about 30 apiece in the two sections of the town. In 2024, the Hudson Fire Department as a whole responded to 657 calls for service. So, and we're 5% ahead of that last year, so we're going to be eclipsing 700 here shortly within the next year or so, a year. So that's a lot.
Well, so that's the other reason why no matter what, we need more firefighters in the pool. So the recruitment is a really important effort no matter what. Other questions that people have?
Yeah, I'm Mike Kretz, 256 Troon Court, and I'm 77 and I'm not anxious to start fire or stop fires or anything like that on scene. But what I want to know is there's a lot in here on prevention, education, all that sort of stuff. Is there a way for somebody to be involved and not actually go to fire sites or whatever? You understand what that role would be?
Right. So right now, we don't have a program in place where we have non-firefighters participating in fire prevention activities. It's obviously something we can explore at doing. All our firefighters do all our fire prevention activities, like the school talks and public education events and all, stuff like that. So right now, our current firefighters do that.
And they feel comfortable doing that with the training and everything?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Yep. Yeah, because they have knowledge of the equipment and what they're explaining to the kids and escape plans and fire safety topics. Yes.
And the arrangement that you have, is there like an experienced person required? Like you have a probationary period or something like this for
Correct. So
new people?
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say for new people coming on that you're not with two rookies, for example.
Right. So we, you don't have to have any experience to get hired.
Okay.
So I guess I can speak about the hiring process a little bit, but
Do you want me to pull up your presentation, Drew? Is there anything in there you want to share?
no, I think I can.
Okay.
So the way it's going to be structured is everybody that we hire will become City of Hudson employees, because anybody that we hire to be on the Hudson Fire Department has to go through an interview with the Police and Fire Commission for the city. That's state statute, no way around that. You don't have to have any experience. We provide all the training for you. So obviously, if you come already state certified, that's a plus, but that's not necessary. We get you into class right away this fall to get your certifications. That's all state funded. There's no cost to you as the member to join. So that's everything. All the basic training needed fire department wise is paid for by the state of Wisconsin.
Okay. And what about physical conditioning? Do you need to do 50 push-ups or anything, or Marine type stuff or anything like that? Or
So in years past, we had done a physical ability test, but those are very subjective and legally, unless you have a not a physical trainer, but I can't think of the term. It's like a physician designs your exam and signs off on it. They can be challenged in court, or you could have you could be held liable for a physical ability test. So basically, to to kind of get around having to do a physical ability test, not having to do any of that stuff, is during your first year of probation or your first year of training, if you physically can't do the firefighting job, that's kind of where we'll recognize that you physically can't do it. You may be claustrophobic, wearing your mask. You may be scared of heights, whatever it is, right? That's when, through the training, we work with the person to try to get them to where they need to be. And at the end, if they can't accomplish that successfully, then they're dismissed. So,
And then one quick last question. And I'll appreciate it. Have there been any injuries in your 60 plus or whatever it was in the last year? Or any
injuries to our members?
Yeah, injuries to the firefighters?
Yes, we've had a couple. Nothing significant. A lot of them are strains, back strains, knee strains, stuff like that, lacerations. Nothing that's required any medical transport or medical stay. But any injuries incurred either at training, at incidents, stuff like that, is a workers' comp claim. Then workers' comp paperwork has to be filled out through the city of Hudson, and those injuries are covered by the city through workers' comp.
Good, thank you.
Other questions?
I am Suzanne Van Mealy, and I live at 393 Cooley Trail, and I was on the town board and worked with fire and EMS for some time. I just have a couple questions. The fire trucks, the tender and pumper, and later a brush truck. I looked up the cost of those quite, it's like a little under $1 million, a little under $2 million for another one. For a ladder truck, brush truck, 250,000 to 350,000 in there. I was just wondering who would bear the cost of the trucks? Who would they belong to? The town, or would they belong to the Hudson Fire Department? And also equipment. Who would be paying for that? And who would own the building and how much that might cost? Just as a high level. And I think it's a great idea. I'm just curious about, just asking
Yeah,
questions.
yeah, you want to answer that, Ray?
Okay, yeah. Well, thanks, first of all, for all the work you've done before with the EMS and fire, Suzanne, so we appreciate that. Like most questions, there's no exact answer I can give you at this point, but I can say that we're estimating at this point that the town will probably front about $3 million for this project, okay? Now, the town will own the building for certain, okay, so that will be our facility. Whether we own or don't own the trucks will depend on how our relationship with the other partners is determined. So we're looking at putting a 20-year contract together with the Hudson Fire Department to manage this service. So if all of the other partners in our Hudson partnership, as you know who they are, right, are willing to bear all of the costs related to the station, okay, we will give the trucks to the Hudson Fire Department for a period of 20 years. And then we can buy them back. We're negotiating anyway. We would buy them back after 20 years for $1. So it's a moving target. Now, if those partners don't want to bear the cost of maintaining this station and the equipment, then the town would keep those vehicles. And we would get a charge back from the city for whatever it costs for them to maintain our vehicles. So it's kind of, the best I can phrase it, Suzanne, there's a meeting next Wednesday of the partners for the Hudson Fire Department. And at that point, I'll be laying out these two options and seeing where this heads, okay? That's the best I can answer your questions.
Well, the life of a truck is 15 to 20 years.
We-
So it would have some value after that.
Yeah, well,
Not
actually, as often as this truck would roll, probably longer than that. For instance, going back to Warren's question about how many fire calls there are, the Hudson had like 700 fire calls, and of those, or 700 service incidents, of those, there were only 60 fire calls. Okay.
Well, that's not,
Well, there were 26 building fires, 14 outside fires, 9 vehicle fires, and 11 brush fires. So in 2024, going by the statistics that we've gotten from the fire department, there were 60 of those calls. Now, that doesn't mean that's the only time the trucks would roll. I mean, you see our trucks if you have a event, right? There might be an EMS vehicle or fire truck sitting there, or who knows what. So, but the point is, they don't run 700 times. This vehicle is not going to leave our station 700 times.
Okay.
so just to kind of help clarify some of that too. So right now, yes, fire trucks are $1 million, right? That you're not wrong with that. Ladder trucks are $2 million. I'm trying to work with the town administrator right now to find alternatives that may not cost as much, like demos, trucks that are already built that are more reasonably priced than that. So I would say $1 million, but that's not the type of equipment we're looking at buying, and they should last more than 15 years, hopefully 20 to 25. So yes, we had 7 close to 700 calls for service last year, 24 fires, but we also do a whole host of other incidents, carbon monoxide alarms, vehicle accidents, fire alarms, right? I mean, you name it, that's how we get our 700 calls. So to say that these trucks are going to go out 700 times, not necessarily. They may, I couldn't pick a number, right? I don't know, but if there's a fire in North Hudson, the truck may not go to North Hudson, but we may move it to the Hudson Fire Station, centrally located within our district, something like that. It's all stuff that has to get worked out, but I don't think the cost that you've researched is necessarily going to be the cost of what the equipment's going to cost. We're trying to do our best to find the best deals out there to reduce that impact.
We're looking at a pumper right now that's in the 650 range, Suzanne. So,
That's good. All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Other questions?
Caleb Johnson, 589 Wingate Drive. I was wondering, do you anticipate picking up any firefighters who currently live in the River Falls district who would now be included in the new Troy response district? And my second question is, are all Hudson firefighters first responder certified?
To answer your first question, yes, that would be the ideal candidate, is somebody that's going to be in the new fire district. That's exactly what we're looking to get. And the second question, is everybody a first responder? They are not, but we've changed that requirement 2 years ago, that when emergency medical responder is offered, you have to take it. We feel we have a much better rounded firefighters that can provide medical aid at calls prior to an ambulance arriving, if it's at a car accident or something like that. So we have required all our new members, when the class is offered, which sometimes isn't for 3 years. We just had a class this past fall that 5 of our members went through. So right now we're of our 40 members, 27 are first responders. So, and we're also probably at some point going to explore maybe starting a first responder program out in the rural areas to help benefit the ambulances. But again, that's very preliminary right now. So that's why we're kind of laying the groundwork right now for that.
Other questions? A lot of people haven't had any yet, so.
Nathan Nelson, 571 Chinook Lane, River Falls. The would the expectations for the firefighter here in Troy have to respond to the Hudson location ever, to the Hudson Fire Station?
No. Well, yes. So that's a loaded question. If you're in this area and you're assigned to the station, that's the station you report to for a call. If the apparatus, the person are needed to respond to an incident up closer to the city or in the town of Hudson, then the apparatus, you would respond to the apparatus from this station to respond up there. Correct. Yep. But the way it's designed is we would treat this station as basically our second station. So yes, your pager will go off 700 times. But that's, there's no way to differentiate the areas it calls in, right? Because you're operating as one department. You just happen to have the fire station in the town of Troy. So no, you would not. If you're assigned to the station, you don't have to go to that station to get on a truck. You would go to this station to do that.
So this question might help the question that just came about. So in other words, this station would be mutual aid to the surrounding locations. If
Not-
another call were to come in?
Not mutual aid, it would be next up for, right? Because it would be considered part of the Hudson Fire Department.
Yeah.
So it's not mutual aid. It's just the next to go on the call.
So if
Yeah.
the trucks in Hudson are out, then you would back up that location
Correct.
to go back out. And then I know before when I was on and went through all the training, you guys required the light bars. Now is that still the case?
We don't require it for
Okay.
your personal vehicles. In fact, that's a huge gray area whether insurance likes that or not, your personal insurance. So we always tell everybody check with your personal insurance before you start adding emergency lights and sirens to your personal vehicles.
Okay.
Doug Hyman, 144 Skyline Drive, River Falls. Are you on call? Like if you're at your cabin, or do you have to be on call for a certain
No, right
period
now,
of time or anything?
We do not require anybody to be on
Okay.
call per se. If you're available, you
You're
can
there, you're
respond.
there.
If you're
If you're not
there,
there,
if you're not, you're not.
Okay.
That's the one disadvantage of a volunteer paid on call fire department is you never quite know how many people you're going to
Right.
get at any given time. But there is no requirement to be on call. We do, however, have attendance requirements. You have to make a certain number of calls within a time period and a certain number of trainings to stay in good standing within the department. Because obviously we don't want to bring people on and then they never show up for calls
Right.
or they never show up for training because that's kind of counterproductive. So there is some requirements to be on the department, but there is no set schedule.
Okay. Another question. What's the oldest guy on your staff?
60, 68.
Okay, thank you.
Drew, how many calls do people have to show up to be on good standing about? Do you have a number?
So I gotta think. So we require right now. We require it's a point system. So we used to have a percentage that you had to meet a certain percent of calls. Well, 80%, 70 to 80% of our calls happen during the day, and if people are at work, it's tough to get a percentage when you're at work. So we went to a point system. So it's 6-month periods. And you have to get 100 points to stay in good standing. So that's 1 point per call during the day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. It's 2 points per call, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And then it's 2 points per training. So if you kind of do the math, it's a low number, but it's not hard to obtain. But there's a point system based on your attendance to different things. So we stepped away from the percentages. A lot of people do percentages, but that's not necessarily fair to the people that are out of town all day when 60% of our calls, 78% of our calls are happening. So there's other ways to get points also. Pub ed activities, come in for fire prevention, school talks, stuff like that. So there's numerous ways you can get your points to stay in good standing. But there are minimums you have to meet. Because we do invest a lot of time and money. The average to outfit one firefighter is about $8,000, with your turnout gear and everything. So we don't want to make that huge investment in somebody and then a year from now they're not showing up, they're not doing anything, that was an $8,000 investment that was not wisely spent.
Other questions? This will not be the last meeting on this topic. So if you want to track how the process is moving, my recommendation would be if you're not signed up for the news and notices on the Town of Troy website, sign up, because then you could see when these things are on the agenda for the town board. You can see what aspects of this project we're talking about at any month. We're always happy for feedback, emails, phone calls, discussion offline. This is a new adventure. It's an exciting venture for the town of Troy, but it's also something new for everybody as we figure out how to make this work. It's a new model for the Hudson Fire Department as well. So if you sense some, we're trying to figure it out, that's exactly where we are, to try to optimize it from a cost standpoint, try to optimize it from a service standpoint, and ultimately get to the point where January 1st, 2027, we've got a new capability in place that's better than what we've had before and is cost effective for the town, and even provides benefits outside of the town of Troy to the other partners for the Hudson Fire Department. And that's why we're doing that collaboration. I did have somebody ask me the other day, so I'll answer the question now. Why doesn't Troy just build its own fire department? Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. If we wanted to do that, we'd need a lot more than 10 firefighters. Plus, we'd need another fire chief. Plus, we'd need a whole bunch of other capability to make it work, which is more than what we need for our, 60-ish fire calls a year that we have at Troy. It's better to build a capability that can be used regionally and also benefits the town. And then not only do we benefit from that, but all of the other municipalities that we partner with will also gain benefit from the changes that we're trying to make. So we're excited about the change. We do need people to help us. And so again, I'll put out the pitch. That's our number one goal right now, is to try to get people in place while the town board, in conjunction with the fire department, are looking at what kind of equipment do we need, what capabilities would we need in a station if we build a building, starting to look at all of the items that would have to happen so that by the end of 2026, we're ready to go with this new plan, assuming that everything moves forward and we get all the approvals on everything. But that's where we are. And I really thank you all for coming tonight. We appreciate one more question.
I'd say it might be advantageous if I just go through my presentation quick too.
You want to?
Yeah, we can do that. Go ahead.
How many applicants do you have so far
Right now, overall, or from the town of Troy?
for the town of Troy?
One right now.
One. What if you don't get your I see the deadline is like Friday,
Can
Yeah,
I get the screen back,
That's
please?
been extended to the 25th.
25th?
Yeah, yeah.
So if you don't get 8 to 10 by the 25th?
Then we're going to have to keep recruiting.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if that shut your program down or what. Okay, thank you.
So go ahead.
I just want to kind of clarify on the question I asked earlier. Do you anticipate, say, late 2026, early 2027, if there are any current firefighters in River Falls Fire Department who may live now in this new Hudson response region, do you anticipate any switching over to the new district to now be some of that 8 to 10 firefighters?
To join? I couldn't tell you until they apply. I have no idea. So
It's not something we're actively recruiting, but I mean, people can apply if they want to apply.
So I'll run through our presentation that we gave a couple weeks ago, and this kind of gives a good overview of the fire department, I guess, and the services we provide.
And there's a paper summary of this on the table back there if you haven't seen it.
Yeah. Hopefully this answers some questions that some of you may have that didn't get answered or may spark some new ones. So right now we have 42 members on the Hudson Fire Department. Of those, 3 are full-time. They're 40-hour-a-week positions. Myself, the fire chief, we have a full-time fire marshal and a fire inspector. The reason we're heavy on the fire marshal, fire inspector side, the city of Hudson, I'm doing some figures right now, has grown about 42% since 2000. And our fire district alone, encompassing our full fire district, has grown 37% population-wise. Obviously with that, there's a lot of commercial development. So we have a lot of fire inspections to do, a lot of building inspections, stuff like that, that have to get accomplished. So we also have one full-time administrative assistant. All of our members live within our fire district. We do have 2 members that live in Minnesota. They live in Lakeland, so they're literally across the bridge and can get to the station pretty quick. So we are cognizant of people that may not be right within our district, but are close to join. We cover about, right now, our current fire area is about 49 square miles, and there's about 33,000 people in our fire district. So, like we talked about before, everybody else that's on the department has another full-time job or is retired. So, it is a commitment, outside of your normal work day. So we get notified by St. Croix County Dispatch on pagers, and we have apps on our phones. We get text messages. Our policy is all members have to go to the station to get their gear and get on apparatus. That's a liability thing. We don't want 40 people driving to a scene with private vehicles clogging up the roads. That's 40 extra people driving fast that we don't need. It's a liability thing. It's a safety thing. So the only people we allow to go directly to the scene are some of our officers. If they're within reason, they're relatively close, they can get to the scene, find out what's going on, call for help. So everybody goes to the station, gets their gear, staffs the apparatus, then we have the appropriate number of staff on the apparatus, and the apparatus responds. So what types of calls do we respond to? I kind of talked about that before. Everybody thinks about structure fires, and although we do have them, it's not the biggest thing we respond to. The number one call that we respond to is vehicle accidents. I know that's hard to believe, the way people drive, that there'd be car accidents, but that is our biggest call that we respond to. We respond to everything listed up there. Has-been incidents, gas leaks, fuel leak, carbon monoxide alarms, fire alarms, sprinkler activations, malfunctions. What I kind of like to say is the fire department is that last phone call before chaos ensues, because it really is. We do or have done animal rescues. It's not a common practice, but if the public's going to place themselves in harm, like getting ducklings out of a sewer or stuff like that, right? If we can prevent injuries to the public, then we go to assist. It's not something we normally do. We really are that last call when people don't know what to do. We've helped people with water leaks. A lot of times, I shouldn't say a lot, we've had a few instances where we've had broken water pipes or overflowing toilets in apartment buildings, and they can't get a hold of management, and they don't know what to do, so they send the fire department over to help out. We help get the water turned off, help people, because people just don't know what to do, right? We're kind of the jack of all trades nowadays. That's just the services we provide. And we do EMS assist, so within our fire district, we respond jointly with the ambulance service on all cardiac arrests to assist with that, and then at the request of them. So about 60 of our calls a year are medical assists. That's why we want people to have first responder training. So a couple of the other things that we do have a full dive team. So right now on staff, we have 5 divers. With all the water in the area, it's one of those low frequency, high risk type things. Our divers are part of the Washington County, Minnesota Fire Dive Team. So there's 5 fire departments in Washington County, including the city of Hudson, that if there's a dive incident, all those departments with divers respond to the scene and conduct rescue diving. So that's an opportunity eventually. People they can join our dive team. We have a full rope rescue team, a high and low angle rope rescue team. And again, the question came up, we do a lot of public education out in the community. Last year, Fire Prevention Week or Fire Prevention Month, I think we visited almost 2,000 kids within schools and daycares, outreach. We do church picnics, Bible camps, other public activities. Our members are constantly going out doing public education events. And then we do participate in some of the area parades. So what does it take to become a firefighter? So obviously application period's open now. If you're selected to move on in that process, we schedule interviews. This year, I think we're gonna do a joint police and fire commission, fire department interview, where you're gonna get interviewed by our panel and the police and fire commission at the same time. Once that's done, the police and fire commission, scores everybody, and then they give us a list of people that we can pick from. They rank the list, and then, we hire off that list. The list is usually good for 1 year. So if there's, vacancies that occur within the year, sometimes you go back to the list and fill our vacancies, so. If you are, selected to be hired, a formal offer of employment is sent out. We have some paperwork you have to fill out. We'll do a criminal background check. There's a physical exam, including a drug test. That's through Hudson Physicians. And if that comes back good, then we get the onboarding process started. So as soon as you get hired, we'll do a night of department orientation. As soon as you're hired, you'll start attending department trainings and drills and calls. The new members cannot respond to the scene until they're through their training. So you'll still come in for calls. You'll still come into the station. That's a good way to get to meet people and see things, see how things operate. If it's a call that we need extra help at, we may take you out to the call, but you can't necessarily be involved in the stuff on scene until you're trained. Every new member is assigned a mentor. So that's the person that we assign you to. If you have questions, they're kind of your go-to person. You'll go through your state training, but we also have proficiency sheets that have to be gone throughout your probationary period, that you have to meet certain benchmarks throughout that period. And the mentors help get you guys on the right track to get those filled out. So we'll issue protective gear, get you signed up for the certification classes, and then we'll get you into class. This year, Fire One, I believe we're probably gonna host in Hudson, which is lucky. You don't have to drive someplace else. It's normally held at an area fire department. Our group that just got done was in New Richmond last year, so it wasn't too bad a drive. The year before that, they were in River Falls, and I think we're the host department this year, so you shouldn't have to go very far for that. That's one night a week and the occasional Saturday. That's through January. Then there's a little bit of a break in January, and then class picks up again, I believe in March to May, and then they do the state testing in early June. So it's a full year of training. It's not every week, but for a while it's at least once a week. Some nights they might double up if there's a holiday and then take a week or two off or whatever, but the class decides how that goes. So then after Fire One, because a lot of people are in that groove of going to school, we highly recommend that you take your Fire Two right away. And that's usually offered back to back after the Fire One's done or within 6 months. That's more training, more detailed specialized training that you get with Fire One. Fire One is like all your real basic stuff that you need to have. Fire Two, it's a little more in depth. Become a more well-rounded firefighter through Fire Two, and then EMR when that's offered. So, and that's probably won't be for a few years, I'm guessing. And then the longer you're on, you become eligible to become a driver. So right now, our policy is you have to be on the department for 3 years before you're eligible to become a driver, and then you have to go to school for driver operator. And then should you aspire to be an officer at some point, you can also go on to get your fire officer as well. All the classes are required by the state of Wisconsin. It used to be where you could get promoted to a rank, you could get promoted to a driver and then take the class. The state of Wisconsin's changed that requirement. You now have to take the class before you're eligible to do that position. So that has changed. But again, those are all state-funded classes. When those opportunities come up and you want to take them, you can go to it. So you get 1 year probationary period. Since I've been chief here for 3 years, we haven't had anybody wash out in that 1 year period. So that it's kind of one of those things. If you're not working out, things aren't working, we have the ability to part ways. Our trainings, so we always tell everybody when they start, Monday nights are fire department night. The first, second, and third Mondays of the month are our training nights. Our fourth Monday is our truck check and business meeting night. That doesn't mean that you would have to come to every drill night. You're expected to be there. Obviously, people have family obligations. They have kids, things going on, whatever else. You're on vacation, right? We understand that. We just encourage everybody to make as many drills as they can. And then I talked about the point system before, and how to gain your points to stay in good standing. So, and that's our current pay and benefits. These are stipends. So we have a fire call. So now there's a call now, and what is it? Find out where it is.
First page for Hudson Fire being requested in Troy Township, right one of the areas, County Road Edmonds and Frank, near Cove Road, numerous calls for a big tree on fire on the power lines and into the road.
There you go. So as a probationary firefighter, you would receive $27.80 for this call. This call probably will be done in less than 30 minutes. That's a very good hourly rate for that. If it was a structure fire, that's 4 or 5 hours long. You take that $27 stipend and divide it out, your hourly rate kind of went down, right? But everything's stipend based for everything we do. You get stipend for trainings, you get stipend for public education. There's always an incentive to do it, because if we didn't incentivize people to do this, nobody would volunteer. So the term volunteer firefighter does not exist necessarily anymore, because nobody volunteers for nothing anymore. So, and then your option to enroll Wisconsin Deferred Comp after your probationary period through the city of Hudson. And I don't recall, there is a match from the city. I'd be lying, $400 a year maybe, that they put into that. And then you're also the public safety officer benefit in the event of death if you're on duty. So kind of a high level overview of the fire department, but I think it's good to get that out there for everybody, that we just don't do fires. There's a lot of stuff we do in the community, a lot of calls we go to. So, any questions, any of that?
Okay. Thanks, everybody, for coming tonight. Really appreciate it. Oh, one more question and or comment. Can you go to the microphone, Suzanne? Sorry.
How long will it be before Hudson is a professional full-time fire department and not a volunteer fire department? Because I've been in the building and it looks like it was built for a professional.
Correct. Yeah, so good question. We're kind of at that crossroads right now. At some point, we're going to have to transition to some full-time staff. I don't think Hudson will ever be a fully career fire department. We're probably looking at have a minimum of 3 people on duty a day to take the majority of the calls that happen, and probably roster close to 25 or 30 paid on calls for the larger incidents and to back up the full-time crew. So I would say probably in 2 to 5 years, you're going to see some transition of full-time staff. It's inevitable.
And how difficult is it to find people during the day to volunteer? Because, they have jobs and, it
Yep.
makes it a little tougher, and you need to have a certain percentage that that are available during the day.
Yeah. So that's kind of a difficult question to answer, because every day is different when people are available. Daytime is tough. Weekends are extremely tough. Everybody has a cabin. Everybody leaves town on the weekends. That gets to be a challenge to find people that's around on the weekends. We average between 14 and 18 people per call. The problem with that is sometimes it takes 30 minutes to get 18 people, right? So that's kind of where the paid on call side is tough during the day.
And I know, having been to a lot of meetings, that most of the calls happen while people are home, which is in the morning, and more so after they get home from work. So another question is, what is the preferred age range? Because I saw something on television the other night about how hard it is to get volunteer firemen within, a specified range.
Mm-hmm.
And what is that ideal range?
The ideal range? Well, ideally 18 to 40 is ideal. To physically be able to do the job and physically be, to go to school, is probably the ideal range. We have 10 of our members are 55 and older, right now. They're no longer our interior guys. They're our drivers. They don't go in anymore, just because of the physical demands. So, yes, the younger the person, the better.
That's about it.
Okay.
Last call for questions. Okay, thank you all for coming tonight. Really appreciate your participation in the process.